Hello, good human. I'm Nim Deeswart, and this is Return on Wisdom. I'm giving you an opportunity. You're walking into a room and everyone you've ever met is in that room. Who would you look for and what would you say to them?
Everyone I've ever met, whether they're here or not.
Yeah.
Wow. I would take opportunities I didn't have. Strangely, I jumped to my best friend. My best friend died at the age of 28 from leukemia. She got diagnosed 6 weeks before her wedding and actually died 18 months or so later. And I did not understand what she was going through at the time. And it was the little things. It's often the little things. And I remember buying her a gift, and it was just so, I only knew later, it was the wrong gift for someone with leukemia that couldn't have certain things in a room with them. And we just missed out on, she missed out on so much. We missed out on so much. I guess I would definitely talk. I would walk after her first.
What would you say?
I think I would want to spend the time reminiscing and having laughs, because actually there's something magical about that. We did that with Dad, so it ended up being only 3 months before he died. His brothers flew from overseas and one of his best friends, and then we had some other relatives all travel, and we basically had an Irish hoolie for 2 weeks.
So good.
It was amazing. And an Irish hoolie in my family basically is music. Lots of laughing, lots of silly reminiscing, and probably too many drinks. But it was exactly what Dad would want, and everyone was there and did it really all for him. But we all loved it as well. The intentional memories and intentional connection. So in amongst all the crazy and the down times, look for the sparks, make them happen, actually, it would be my message. Because if you don't make them happen, they just won't.
What do you think the greatest barriers are for people to make those sparks as they're navigating big life transitions?
Being intentional, and probably there's an element of slow in there. You need to slow down in order to do the right things or the best things or the most considered things. And again, that can be really hard when you're in pace. And what I have realised is when someone is sick, there's often one or two that take the brunt of the work. And so whether that's you or it's someone else, how do you either carve out the time or help the other person carve out the time?
What would you say to the next generation when it comes to the anticipatory grief of them losing their parents?
I love that question, Nim. I would very confidently say that take intentional steps to not have moments of regret when your loved one does pass. And so whatever that looks like for you, I think for me, it's around you get so busy in the day-to-day, going to appointments, seeing doctors, ticking off lists, organising pills, filling out forms, whatever it sort of ends up being for you, that you can forget that the magic moments still should happen. But they can only happen if you intentionally plan them and make space for them. So I would say to anyone, make time for connection, whatever that is. If you've got 30 minutes, there's things you can do. If you've got half a day, there's things you can do. If you've got a weekend with your loved one, there's things you can do, rather than just drown in the medical type side of things.
The processes.
The processes, yeah, that's such a good word, yes.
What keeps you going in tough times?
A belief that there's always another path. There will always be challenges. Even grief is something that's thrown at you. You don't choose to have scenarios that come our way, but you can always choose your next step, and you can choose a path. So I think that has gotten me through. And again, it's the step back to think, or the sit in the moment to think, and then what's the next small thing you can do.
How has your perspective of time changed as you've grown wiser?
So obviously, you don't want to waste time, but actually as I've gotten older, I am slower in the way that I use my time, which sounds crazy, but I take more time for thinking. I take more time for reflection, and I am definitely more considered, more intentional, and you can only do that if you're slow. The other thing I know I have done, particularly over the last 18 months, would be doing my best to stop multitasking. It absolutely does not work for me. I'm not really sure it works for many. But I thought I was Wonder Woman in my 30s, and I definitely packed as much as I could in, and I don't do that anymore.
What is a key lesson you've learnt about love in your life?
Don't take it for granted. I would probably also say it needs work, and that is anyone. That's my friends, my mum, my children. You can't just expect it to be there. You have to actually put the effort in. And again, I think it's the time to actually think through not what you might like, but what would the person like, and then how you make your connection that way.
What is a moment in your life that completely changed your perspective on everything?
Probably the loss of my dad. And that's really where my business name came from. So my business is called Taking It Forward. I think it very much applies to my HR space and my career transition space of next steps and moving forward. Seeing as its origins are with the loss of my dad, it was very much around grief, and you can't get rid of grief. You can, and I'm not even sure you can necessarily make it smaller, but you can absolutely acknowledge it. You can accept what's gone on and what you're sitting in at that moment, but take your first step, take your next step, and keep moving forward. Yeah, and I do think it's the sharing of the stories. So again, connections and conversation. You can't solve things without it. And you can't solve things without other people. I just think interactions and being curious. So I'm pretty sure they would be the top two things I talk to my kids about is curiosity. So don't wonder, go and find out. Don't think you know, explore more. And then absolutely have conversations and make connections, because without them, you're not going to get your next job. You know, you're not necessarily going to get the spot that you want on that football team. Sure, you need talent as well, but you also need to fit in. Yeah, and you won't know what's out there if you don't have conversations. And actually, that is probably one of the biggest things I talk to my career transition clients about is who's in your network, who haven't you talked to, who could you talk to, when you meet them. What would you like them to know? What would you like to ask them? What might you like to walk away with? So conversations.
Thank you for joining us on Return on Wisdom. If this resonates with you, please support the project by subscribing. You're amongst the first believers helping us create a world that listens, learns, and values lived experience wisdom. Every like, comment, and subscription is a powerful reminder to keep this mission alive. Your support today makes all the difference. Thank you.